The subprime mortgage crisis has now become common knowledge throughout most of the world. Aggressive lending practices, crude and emasculated regulatory supervision, and a climate of short-term Wall Street greed are held up as causes of this potential disaster. What is less common knowledge, however, is that the source of this disaster resides in the trade policies of the last 25 years and the incredible greed, stupidity, and submissive cowardice that has characterized most Western bureaucracies and media, and some of the government during this time. How bad is the disaster? Everyone speaking about it these days uses terms like the worst crisis since the Great Depression, or the creator of another recession, and other relatively innocuous and gentle descriptions. I'm here to tell you otherwise. I'm here to explain that this crisis is not the worst since the Great Depression. It is in fact the hallmark and the initiator of an economic crisis that will surpass the Great Depression in speed, intensity, and degree of suffering among the general population of the Western world, to varying degrees depending on the country. I'm also here to explain that the source of this crisis is something other than the aggressive and predatory lenders in the United States. The source is, in fact, the trade policy of the last 25 years, beginning in roughly 1982 and 1983. And the crisis is only a symptom of the general economic problem plaguing the U.S. It is not the source of the problem. That is why the $700 billion bailout package is the worst, most obvious possible mistake that could be done to try to alleviate this crisis. The bailout is directing almost $1 trillion to propping up a set and series of corporate institutions that are rotten in terms of their utility in fostering genuine American economic growth. The $700 billion will not and cannot find its way to the healthy elements of the American economy that continue to need capital. The tax dollars will be absorbed by failing institutions in an effort to prop themselves up. The money should be spent elsewhere. A federal loan and funding agency should be created overnight as a direct alternative to the current banking system in order to provide necessary credit to healthy, local American businesses that have a clear need to expand on existing sales from a base of high-value production for existing American clients. This will have the effect of expanding and stimulating what is, in essence, a healthy corollary, primarily domestic economy that serves to help the federal union survive the inescapable shocks arising from the future failure of major banks and lenders. When the current bailout does not resolve the crisis, it will break the resolve of American representatives to do anything, and it may very well prevent them from doing what actually needs to be done. The reason it has been rammed through Congress is simple: bad advice, advice given to support those who are now panicking at the natural and logical consequences of failed trade policies. Not failed banking policy, but failed trade policy, and this is a crucial distinction. You may ask me, what does this have to do with my overpriced house and my inability to sell it? It's a simple question, and I have a simple answer. America has been bled dry of industrial wealth in the form of industrial goods production and employment over the last 25 years. In order to keep getting elected and to keep the population from revolting in areas like the Rust Belt centered around Ohio and industrial California, which lost millions and millions of jobs in this time period, the magicians of Wall Street, the smart young men from Wharton and Harvard, jumped in to fill a void. They created the illusion of wealth in order to replace actual wealth, and they did it via speculation in real estate. They shouted homes for everyone, and the value can never go down. Prices can only go up. Credit for everyone, because the price of homes will never go down. Real estate has no price ceiling, for only the sky is the limit. Then they unleashed unlimited credit under this first-order, artificial axiom. Coming down to earth can be described as a meeting of the economy with its own banker. The banker says, well, what do you have to show me in return for what I have given you to work with? The banker says, I have printed paper and declared it to have value, and I expect you to show me goods of value in return. not just services rendered. Oh no. I want to see something tangible in return for the paper I printed. That's the deal, remember? I print paper and pretend that it is valuable, and on that credit you go out and actually make something that people want, something that they need, something that they are compelled to buy, and that they are desirous of buying each and every day, something that we can together call valuable. In the past, when the American economy met with the banker, it said, well, we have widgets, and we made cars, and we made ships, and most of all, we made the gazillions of little handy products that each American needs and wants in their own home. The toasters and the placemats and the hanging racks and the incredible, remarkable, absolute junk that none of us can ever live without once we see it. But this time, in the present of 2008, the American economy looks around, it checks its pockets, it pulls out a few products here, the odd widget there, and in general it comes up empty. In 2008, the American economy is saying, well, God, let me find that quote. Oh, here it is. Here, it's a piece of paper, and it says, real estate can only go up. The sky's the limit. Wrong answer, the banker says. The banker wants to see facts and figures, balance sheets with actual products at the end, like robots whizzing around and new automatic toasters that bake the bread and then make the toast and then butter themselves while the residents of this happy nirvana are still sleeping. You know, some sort of evidence of genuine economic activity. And the generation of wealth is and always has been through industrial development. The manufacture of products much more than the provision of service. In particular, products that are useful to the people in the area of their own development, so useful and incredibly appealing, like that newfangled toaster that bakes bread toasted and butters itself while everyone is sleeping, that they are then sold to others outside the area. This is called local production and the basis for local production for export. The service economy is nowhere near as powerful as the industrial economy. It does not command the automatic, incalculable, expansionist tendencies of the industrial economy's need for exponential growth in support products for every industrial product that is actually produced. The service economy is the paperwork economy, and it is burdened with and limited by all the realities of how paperwork tends to stifle rather than stimulate more action. What do you think sells more quickly and provides more ancillary economic stimulation? A complex and absolutely necessary industrial product with 4,000 moving parts, or a bank loan? Which process pays who? The bank loan pays off the banker, the Wall Street financier, and perhaps the government regulator. It costs everyone else money. The industrial product pays off hundreds of people involved in its own production, and it stimulates related innovation and more economic growth. The bank loan is only a tool for the stimulation of the industrial economy. It is not a means of creating economic growth by itself. Even if we describe the bank loan economy as a tool for the stimulation of the construction economy, which was the case in the subprime mortgage crisis, the bank loan economy is doomed to fail if it only stimulates the local production of goods in a field as limited as the construction economy driven by rising real estate value. Because why would the real estate value go up? There are only so many ways to build a house. Unlike the innovative junk that we appear driven to put in and around our houses, the iPods, the table settings, the light fixtures, the colorful curtains, and the blinds and the gadgets and the keys to the toys outside and the keys to the toys inside, the toys for the children, the new locks for the doors, the security systems, which at this point in history appears to be an unlimited market driven by bizarre human behavior that translates desire into need and necessity overnight. The two economies may compare on paper, but they do not compare in reality. Don't let modified definitions fool you. Saying that goods production and service provision are equal in the general scale of economic activity is what I call sleight of hand, engineered by economists in order to camouflage economic weakness.